Something so deeply sacred about the language of the subconscious. The way God sometimes speaks through what seems ordinary, like a dream. You see, when someone shows up in your dream, it's not just a random coincidence. No, beloved, it is often a divine whisper, a message cloaked in mystery, waiting for your spirit to discern. Too many of us wake up brushing it off, calling it just a dream, when in reality it could be the Holy Spirit trying to grab your attention. Today we're not just going to explore what dreams are, we're going to uncover what it means when someone appears in them. This is not about superstition or surface level spirituality. This is about discernment, revelation, and the hidden messages God sends to awaken your purpose and align your path. Let's go deeper. Because your dreams are speaking and it's time you started listening. The person in your dream often symbolizes an aspect of your soul that is unresolved, triggered, or in transformation. Think about that. Sometimes God will allow someone's face to show up in your dream, not because of who they are to you, but because of what they represent within you. You see, dreams are less about the external and more about what is happening within the depths of your spirit. They are symbolic realms where the truths we avoid in our waking life come to the surface. So when you see a person in your dream, especially one who evokes a strong emotional response, that's a sign that something deep inside you is being stirred. It might be someone from your past, someone you thought you had forgotten. But the truth is, they are showing up in your dream, not necessarily because of who they are, but because of what they carry. They may represent a season you haven't healed from, a memory you buried, or a wound that never quite closed. And what we often fail to realize is that our subconscious becomes the stage where our soul starts speaking what our mouth won't say. You can fake it during the day, but your spirit will speak at night. And that's why discernment is so critical. Just because someone appears in your dream doesn't mean you need to call them or reconcile with them. It might not be about them at all. It might be about the part of you that encountered them, the version of you that was insecure, rejected, overlooked, or even deeply in love. That dream is a visitation to a version of yourself that still needs attention. A version of you that God is trying to redeem, restore, or release. Sometimes the person in your dream is a reflection of a current internal struggle. For example, if someone you had conflict with appears, God might be highlighting unresolved anger or a buried offense. He may be showing you the root of bitterness that's quietly shaping your actions. Other times the person represents growth. Maybe it's someone you admired, and their presence in your dream is calling you higher, reminding you of the gifts inside you that you've neglected. In either case, their presence is never meaningless. God is strategic, not random. The Holy Spirit doesn't waste revelation. If a face appears in your dreams consistently, it's an invitation to investigate what that person mirrors about your journey, your identity, your wounds, or your calling. It's about self-awareness. It's about healing. Sometimes you have to ask, what does this person's presence stir in me? That question will often unlock the deeper truth God is trying to reveal. And we must be honest, some of us avoid that work. We'd rather brush it off, scroll past it, suppress it. But there's something sacred about a soul that pauses to ask God, what are you showing me through this dream? Someone appears in your dreams, especially more than once. You are being summoned into a deeper understanding of your emotional, spiritual, or even prophetic condition. The person may be a portal, not the point. And when you start seeing your dreams this way, they stop being strange visions and start becoming sacred conversations. God may use familiar faces to deliver unfamiliar truths. There's a divine strategy in how God communicates, and he often cloaks his wisdom in symbols we recognize. When someone you know appears in a dream, it doesn't always mean the message is about them personally. In fact, more often than not, their face becomes the vessel, the carrier of a word or revelation that your spirit is ready to receive, but your mind may not be prepared to understand directly. Familiarity in this context becomes a divine disguise, one that lowers your defenses so truth can enter without resistance. See, if God were to show you a total stranger delivering a heart truth or a hidden revelation in your dream, your conscious mind might resist it, question it, or dismiss it. But when that truth is wrapped in the appearance of someone you know, someone you love, respect, or even struggle with, it penetrates deeper. It catches your attention. It causes you to pause. That's not a coincidence, that's design. The familiarity of the person is not the point. It's the message that comes through them that carries the weight. We often expect God's voice to sound a certain way or arrive in a certain form. But he's not limited by our expectations. He will speak in whatever language your heart will hear. And sometimes the most effective language is the language of relationship. That's why dreams often include family members, friends, mentors, or even past romantic partners. Not because they hold current significance in your life, but because they carry symbolic weight in your psyche. God uses what is familiar to reveal what is hidden. For example, someone who mentored you may appear in a dream, not because they're about to return to your life, but because God is calling you back to a mindset you had in that season, to a hunger or discipline you've lost. Or perhaps someone who betrayed you shows up not to reopen old wounds, but because God is exposing a similar spirit operating in your current circle. Their appearance becomes a warning, a reflection, a cautionary echo. It is not about them. It is about what they represent. This is why spiritual discernment is crucial. Carnal interpretation will always focus on the person, but spiritual vision asks God, what truth are you revealing through this vessel? The familiar face is just the packaging. The real content is the instruction, the revelation, the mirror God is placing before you. You have to go beyond the appearance and ask, what are you trying to tell me, Lord? And here's the key, not every familiar face brings a message of correction. Sometimes they come bearing promises. A childhood friend might represent innocence and purity. Their presence in your dream may signal God drawing you back to a posture of faith, wonder, or creativity. An old teacher might reflect the return of wisdom, learning, or a divine invitation to grow in a new area. God will tailor the message to your history, your emotions, your journey, because he knows you intimately. He knows that sometimes the only way to shake you, to wake you, to reach you is to place truth in a familiar form. That's the beauty of his voice. It doesn't just speak to your ears. It speaks to your soul. And if you're willing to look beyond the face and lean into the message, you will find that your dreams become more than random scenes. They become divine appointments. Conversations with God disguised as memories. Instructions from heaven wrapped in faces you've seen before. Some dream appearances are spiritual assignments, divine alerts to intercede. There are moments when a person's presence in your dream is not about you at all, but about them. It is a call from heaven to stand in the gap. A prompting from the Spirit that says, pray. Because while we often interpret dreams through the lens of our own emotions or circumstances, there are times when God is using you as a vessel, waking you up in the night not to analyze, but to intercede. This is where spiritual maturity must come in. Because when you're spiritually immature, you think every dream is about your healing or your direction. But when you grow in discernment, you start recognizing that some dreams are not reflections, they are assignments. God will place someone on your heart through a dream because their name is echoing in heaven. They may be going through something you know nothing about. They may be under spiritual attack, battling depression, standing at a crossroads, or facing danger that is not yet visible. But in his mercy, God will alert someone who can pray, someone who will feel enough compassion to act, to cover, to speak the name of that person back to God with authority and love. That someone might be you. And here's the sacred tension. The person you're assigned to pray for might not even be close to you. They might be someone you haven't spoken to in years. They might be someone who hurt you, someone who walked away, someone who you thought had no more place in your life. But God does not limit divine assignments to personal comfort. He will call you to pray for people who would never pray for you. Because intercession is not about them deserving your prayer. It's about you obeying the nudge of the Spirit. When someone appears in your dream and your spirit is stirred, not with fear, not with desire, but with urgency, that's often the first clue. It's an intercessory dream. It might not make sense in the natural. You might wake up wondering, why now? Why them? But the Spirit doesn't reveal without purpose. That person's image in your dream is a spiritual tap on your shoulder, a whisper saying, lift them up. You may never know what your prayers did. You may never hear the testimony. But obedience isn't about proof. It's about trust. And sometimes the burden doesn't leave after one prayer. Sometimes the dream comes again. The face appears more than once. That's when you know the assignment isn't complete. The Spirit is persistent because the need is urgent. Your role becomes that of a watchman. Someone God can trust to war in the Spirit on behalf of another soul. That's not a small thing. That's not a coincidence. That's kingdom work. You must also be cautious not to misinterpret an intercessory dream as an emotional one. Just because someone from your past shows up in a vivid dream, it does not mean you're meant to reach out, reconnect, or reopen that door. If you do that without spiritual clarity, you risk turning a divine assignment into personal confusion. The call is not always to relationship. Sometimes the only call is to prayer. And let's be honest, intercession requires humility. You have to set your feelings aside. You have to pray for people you may have resentment toward. You have to become a conduit of grace for someone who may never say thank you. But that's the beauty of it. That's what makes it sacred. When you can lift someone before the throne, not because of who they are to you, but because of who God is. That's when you know you're walking in the Spirit. That's when your dreams become holy ground. Emotional reactions in dreams are clues to spiritual conditions. The way you feel in a dream is rarely accidental. Emotions in the dream world are often exaggerated, intensified, or deeply vivid. And that's intentional. Your spirit is communicating something your mind may not fully grasp yet. When someone appears in your dream, it's not just their presence that matters, it's how they make you feel within that dream. Were you anxious, relieved, angry, joyful, confused? Those emotional responses are not random, they are revealing what your soul is still processing, what it's carrying, and sometimes what it's suppressing. The emotional environment of a dream is often more revealing than the plot. You might dream of a peaceful moment with someone who in reality brought you pain. And that may not mean reconciliation is coming, but that healing is underway.